The astronauts that have been stranded in space for over a couple of months now is absolutely insane. To get you caught up with everything, I'm going to use segments from a video that I made not too long ago, and then we're going to talk about the latest details. Now, the NASA astronauts are actually stuck in space after years of commercial stumbles, and here's 6 facts to get you guys caught up to speed with everything going on regarding this case. Now, the entire thing is absolutely mind-boggling. I've been following it for the past few days, not many updates, but of course, surprise, surprise, the company that they got stranded on, or the company that created the craft that they got stranded on, was Boeing. Who would have thought it? No doubt if they try to blow the whistle, they will be taken out. But NASA entered a new chapter on its prestigious history of space exploration when the shuttle was retired in 2011 after 30 years. The space agency relied on Russia to get the US cargo and astronauts into International Space Station, the ISS, which cost around $90 million per astronaut for a round trip. Under former President Obama, NASA turned its private US companies to create spacecraft in a less reliant and geopolitical advisory. The Boeing company and Elon Musk funded SpaceX were awarded the contracts in a public-private space exploration partnership, but each company had several starts and stops during the development. So why the successful return to Boeing craft is incredibly important mission. That delayed the anticipation 2018 initial launch, but SpaceX worked its kinks first. So basically, Boeing and SpaceX went head-to-head to try and win over this contract. SpaceX ended up taking it on. But the SpaceX Dragon crew successfully launched 2 astronauts to the ISS in 2020 and returned them home without a hitch. Boeing's update on the stranded astronauts. Boeing's Starliner spacecraft, which made it an inaugural human-manned launch June 5th, but a series of issues in space delayed the astronauts' homecoming. The astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore, who were aboard the Starliner, remain at the ISS for the foreseeable future as engineers fix the helium leaks and thrusters issues before bringing them back to Earth. That was the most recent hiccup in years of starts and stops during the development of the phase SpaceX's Boeing crafts. So we're going to take a little look at the interview here, which kind of gives us a very brief rundown of the whole situation from the very beginning.
There are new delays tonight for the crew of Boeing's Starliner spacecraft. The 2 astronauts are getting an extended stay on the International Space Station while their ride home is being checked out. Correspondent Madison Scarpino has the latest tonight. Good evening, Madison.
Good evening, Brett. Glitches with the spacecraft are keeping the astronauts docked in space for weeks longer than expected. The Starliner's first manned mission began on June 5th and was supposed to last a little over a week. Now, NASA is saying the Starliner won't return to Earth until at least July. NASA is blaming small helium leaks and problems with the thrusters for the delays. Engineers are really using the extra time to study the spacecraft's issues and to prevent them from happening again during future missions. But in an emergency, the Starliner would be cleared to return to Earth. So NASA says the spacecraft is doing well overall in orbit. Former NASA astronauts are not too concerned.
You remember when we first came out with the space shuttle, tiles were falling left and right. We had a lot of problems. And that's what happens when you first introduce a new space vehicle. You get the kinks out.
But one expert in the space field says the delays don't look good for Boeing.
I mean, that's all well and good to say that, you know, you use it to kink out the kinks, I guess. But at what cost? Do you know what I mean? Like, these are real life people that we're playing around with here. These aren't like dummies. They aren't crash dummies. These are genuine lives of genuine people who, you know, go aboard this craft with the security of these companies like Boeing, SpaceX, NASA, all the rest of it, and go up into space hoping that their craft will get them there. I don't get into my car and hope that it's going to get me there. I have trust in my car that it will get me from A to B without killing me. And that's what astronauts should have. Of course, it's very, very different because we're talking about space travel. But at the same time, you know, at what cost?
Here we have China returning a mission with samples from the far side of the moon, a first in human history. And it looks like NASA and Boeing can't get their own people back from low Earth orbit.
NASA is also having some setbacks. A spacewalk scheduled for today was scrubbed because of a water leak in the cooling unit on one of the astronauts' spacesuit. It is the second time issues with spacesuits led to canceled spacewalks in recent weeks.
A lot of water flow.
Is it still coming out?
I don't think we can do it.
There's literally water everywhere here now.
We're going to terminate for the day.
And if the Starliner's leaks are not repaired, it could put future missions at risk. NASA says that the leaks could push back another Starliner launch that's scheduled for early next year. Brett?
Madison, thanks.
So there it is. I mean, obviously the whole thing is crazy because when you think about Boeing, especially recently since probably January, they can't even get their airliners right? You know, that's just planes, which, you know, are supposed to be at this point incredibly safe. They can't get that right. And there's obviously the whole controversy around the whistleblowers being found dead. I've covered that very frequently over on my other YouTube channels, Laney and Ben and Simply Said. But, you know, the whistleblowers blew the whistle because Boeing were using subpar parts to try and pump out the airliners as quickly as they could to meet demand. And they were getting parts out of bins. When the overall Federation for like airspace, you know, avionics came around and they were like, nope, these parts aren't good enough, you're going to have to scrap all of those. They scrapped them. As soon as those people left, they got them back out of the bins and started fitting them to the planes once again. All of these issues were flagged. Boeing's higher-ups completely ignored it. And then we've got all of these issues with these airliners. And then when people have the balls to come out and talk about it, they wind up dead. And obviously with Boeing being in a race against SpaceX, which of course are one of the newer kids on the block, they want that contract. It's a multi-billion-dollar deal. So of course they want that contract. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were doing exactly what they were doing with their airliners, in which they were just throwing out as much as they can, just chucking shit at a wall, seeing what sticks in the hopes that it will work, just to try and get that contract first. Now, obviously, the whole situation it's gone tits up for them. They really have, you know, ballsed it up. Obviously, with now them not being able to get astronauts back home. But here are 6 facts to get you kind of up to speed. So SpaceX and Boeing's spacecraft were developed under NASA's Commercial Crew Program after the shuttle was retired. NASA awarded Boeing and SpaceX contracts of $4.2 billion and $2.6 billion, respectively, after a lengthy open competition in September 2014. The public-private partnership is expected to drop cost per seat from $90.3 million, which was being paid to Russia, to $69.9 million for US companies, according to the NASA report. So, of course, you can probably see why NASA was so keen to go to American-ran companies, because they are making savings of around $21 million. So, Figure 2, Commercial Crew System. So, obviously, this was SpaceX's piece of work, and this was Boeing, so they called it the Starliner. They called it Dragon 2. I mean, SpaceX's obviously looks so much cooler, sounds so much cooler. Falcon 9 SpaceX vehicle, Atlas 5. I mean, it just sounds pretty cool, but average cost per seat is $90 million for Boeing, whereas SpaceX's is $55 million. Launch location, I mean, that doesn't really matter too much. Proposed launch cadence is 1 mission per year, so that's pretty level. So the only real differences here, other than the looks of them, is this huge price tag. I mean, saving $35 million by going with Elon Musk's SpaceX. Number 3. By 2024, SpaceX and Boeing were anticipated to provide the ISS access for at least 48 astronauts, according to the 2009 NASA audit. The expectation wasn't realised because each company faced significant safety and technical challenges with parachutes, propulsion, and launch abort systems, in 2019 audit said. The SpaceX successfully launched and returned its first manned craft in May 2020 and has completed several successful missions since. NASA's space junk rips through US family homes with people inside. Now, this was pretty damning. So space is extremely difficult, expert McKenna Young told Fox News Digital in an interview. SpaceX has really just been an outlier for figured it out, in my opinion, with a lot of success. Young is a fellow with the Aerospace Security Project at the Center of the Strategic and International Studies. Number 5, Boeing's manned crew mission was bumped several times after tests in 2019, failed to fix technical glitches, and in 2022, Starliner's unmanned craft reached the ISS, but more issues with the parachute were discovered in 2023. That delayed the manned mission again. And Boeing Starliner successfully launched its first manned craft to the ISS on June 5th, but a series of issues plagued the craft and delayed astronauts' homecoming. So the latest that we've got, of course, is that Boeing were planning a rescue mission to go and get these 2 astronauts from the ISS, the International Space Station, to bring them back home. Well, that return mission is not exactly going as planned, because they planned to fix the issues on the Boeing Starliner to try and get them back to Earth safely. Well, it has been confirmed recently that the crippled Boeing Starliner, which has marooned 2 astronauts up in space for almost 2 months, may have completely failed now. Which basically means that there's not a chance in absolute hell that the Boeing Starliner is going to be able to get them home. Boeing have well and truly effed it. Now, obviously, Boeing are very well known for effing it up at the minute, because they have basically, well, we've seen it with the Boeing airliners, you know, with the planes that they've been selling on being substandard, whistleblowers then being killed. It's really, really bad. So what did NASA do? They have decided to give the contract over to the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft, which exactly... I mean, this all started because there was a heated competition between Boeing and SpaceX to try and be the ones to win this NASA contract over the Russian company that NASA were originally using. They were going to be a lot cheaper because they were American-based, and they were going to be more proficient. And Boeing basically rushed through the essay and completely fumbled it. Now, SpaceX have come forward and been like, don't worry, we'll take care of your rescue mission. So it looks like the 2 stranded astronauts will be making it home, but not by Boeing. It is going to instead be being done by Elon Musk's SpaceX. What's your guys' thoughts and opinions on this? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to jump to get the hell out of that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Tick on my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload to the channel. And until next time, guys, I hope you have enjoyed. Cannot wait to see the next one, and I'll speak to you later. Peace.